Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 8. So just quickly before we start this video, I want to give a quick shout out to Greg Berlanti, who of course is like the mastermind, the godfather, the brain, whichever way you want to put it, behind the Arrowverse and like outside of the Arrowverse, like 95% of DC TV. But anyway, he got a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't realize it was happening. And like Grant Gustin was there to help celebrate. So yeah, I think it'd be weird if I didn't mention that. So yeah, shout out to Greg. But anyway, we are officially 75% of the way through this season of The Flash after watching episode 15 last week, which of course did involve us diving, I guess, like head first into the Still Force, with many thinking it was going to be a bit of a filler episode or an episode really just revolving around what's going on with Iris and the time sickness and stuff like that. And though that Iris stuff was a good amount of what went on within the episode, it did open up the door for more questions and mystery around just what's going on with the Still Force in general, alongside that time sickness, as well as just like the overall story that this season will be finishing up with once we get to the season finale. And of course, we are on the home stretch with only 5 episodes left for this season, though it seems like we will be taking a bit of a breather for at least one episode before turning the dial up to 11 to end this season off in the final 3 or so episodes. But of course, in the Armageddon event that kicked off this season, all the way back in episode 1, we learned that there was someone messing with the timeline, revolving potentially around the negative Still Force, which did catch Dion, the avatar of the Still Force, completely off guard. And you could tell at that time that he was pretty damn concerned because he couldn't read what was going on at all. However, since that point, we really haven't addressed anything regarding the negative, side of the Still Force. And that's mainly because we jumped into like that reverse Flashpoint timeline soon after that, and like the issues around Armageddon were thought to be dealt with, and we're just like, hey, it's all done, no need to worry. However, because of the rise of this time sickness within Iris, and apparently how it's also affecting Dion, as well as the random change in Dion last episode where he sort of like backstabbed Barry, but then also sort of helped him by bringing Nora into the Still Force to assist Barry. There is set up there for something with the negative Still Force going on, and just whoever is messing around with it to, still play into the events coming up or coming soon to our screen later this season. Now, we know that the final 3 episodes of this season will be the proper, contained final graphic novel or story for this season. However, as we got from the most recent episode, other parts of the season will play into it as well, which include that 15th episode, as well as the events of Armageddon and maybe even other parts of the season that we have already watched. But Eric Wallace, who of course is the showrunner for The Flash, did say that the final graphic novel for this season actually has the name of the villain in the title, or at least, I guess, part of their name in the title. And along with this, we also apparently got the final 2 episode titles for this season, which I did mention in a recent video. Not sure if it was the video before this or a few days ago, not sure. Anyway, those 2 episode titles are Negative Part 1 for episode 19, and as you would expect, Negative Part 2 for episode 20, aka the season 8 finale. So based off that, you would assume that Negative is maybe in the final graphic novel title in some way, shape or form. However, this isn't a overly well kept secret, but Eobard Thawne is also the final threat in this season by the looks of it, which was first teased by Jesse Martin, who plays Joe. However, Armageddon also left Eobard in a pretty unhappy mood, especially with Barry after having his powers taken away. So you expect any payback that Eobard is able to hand out or looking to hand out would be pretty sizable. So due to that, maybe Eobard or Thawne is in the final graphic novel title as well. There's probably a good amount of combinations you could come up with. But what is exactly going on towards the end of this season, as well as right now on the show, and of course more specifically with Eobard Thawne? Well, we're going to jump into that, but of course throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below any thoughts of your own on this theory, or anything you would like to add to it, or maybe even take away from it. Or if you've got a completely different theory, let me know. I'm always curious to hear what you're all thinking in regards to this and just where this could lead into the end of this season. And of course, support the video, drop a like on it, all that good stuff. Takes 2 seconds, helps it out. So to start off with, we have to go straight to the visual evidence, I guess you could say, that we've gotten so far for what's going on at the end of this season. And I think all the photos we have were for the filming of the finale. So we aren't really sure where certain things start and, first appear on screen. But yeah, I think this was only seen during the finale filming for the season, not in like episode 19 or 18 or anything like that. Just the finale. I might be wrong, but I think it's just the finale filming. But yeah, of course, these are of Tom Cavanagh as Eobard Thawne, but in this weird new suit, which based off these photos doesn't really look amazing. But we've had cases, actually a good amount of cases before, where the set photos don't really do a suit justice when they actually appear in the episodes. Like, they look much better in the episodes. Like Impulse or Bart Allen was probably the most recent example from memory. And of course, there'd be cases with other shows and stuff, but in regards to specifically The Flash, I think the Impulse was the most recent example. And for those wondering, yes, this is Thawne. They were calling him Thawne on set. It could be a bit of a mislead, but based off set, they were calling him Thawne and everything like that. But of course, when photos of Thawne in this weird new suit first hit that thing we call the internet, it had people, confused, curious, and, well, just wondering what the hell was going on here. Because, of course, the last time we saw Thawne, which we already brought up before, was him without his powers and on his way to being locked up in Argus. Now, from what we can tell off the limited stuff from set, it does look like Thawne has gotten a power boost. That is like the thing that Barry has over Thawne at this moment in time from what we have seen on the show. Because Barry, well, I guess you have to say it, he leveled up. And that has been pushed as like a major theme, if not the theme, for the season as a whole, and a lot of the characters is just leveling up and, getting a better understanding of, the powers that they have and improving with them, or maybe in some cases just gaining new powers completely, which could be what we are seeing with Eobard later this season. But what exactly is going on with Thawne? Like, what is exactly going to go down between now and, I guess, since Armageddon as well, to the point in the finale where we see him in this new form? Well, as we brought up earlier, the negative still force appears to still be in play and relevant just based off the events of last episode, especially when Dion says that the still force isn't as strong as it was, so maybe something is feeding off it, which easily could be the negative still force or someone operating through the negative still force in order to make the regular still force, well, weaker. But as I said earlier, from what we can tell from set, it seems like Thawne has gotten a power boost alongside this new look, which at one point looked to include the ability to freeze time completely, which included freezing Barry. So he just wasn't moving fast. Barry was just like a statue, like not moving at all. But also, we know that a couple of the other avatars of the forces, that being Alexa, aka the Strength Force, and Nora Allen, aka the Speed Force, are in the later parts of this season. I'm not 100% sure about Bashir, aka Psyche, or, the Sage Force avatar. I don't want to say he is 100% there because from the top of my head, I'm not sure. He might be, but I'm just not 100% sure. But the other two of Alexa and Nora are in the end of this season. But due to this, I think we are going to see Thawne potentially tap into more than just the negative side of the Still Force, but the other forces as well. Now, this would also include the Speed Force, I guess, because he was detached from it in order to survive. And of course, this is assuming that the Thawne that builds up to this form in the finale is the same one that was locked up in Argus, which I think it will be, but you never know, it could be an alternate Thawne. But I think for it to be a better story, at least in regards to season long, it'd be the same version of Eobard, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, this would be a take on the Forever Force from the comics, sort of, that we have brought up before on the channel in some previous videos. And the Forever Force came about when Hunter Zolomon, yes, Hunter Zolomon, or Zoom, managed to not only gain the control of the other forces of the Strength, Still, and Sage Force, but was able to combine them to create the Forever Force, which existed outside of space and time. So this sort of gave him a full insight into the timeline and history, as well as complete access to the multiverse. It was a pretty overpowered thing to have. Now, this wasn't, him making negative versions of these forces. He just gained access to the Strength, Still, and Sage, combined with the powers that he already had, to then create the Forever Force. But on the show, I could see a take on this where, maybe it isn't combined into one force like the Forever Force, but we could just see Thawne harness the negative versions of all these forces and become completely bulked up with power, which is pretty damn fitting for someone like Thawne in the way that he's been, represented on the show over all these years. It's what he has tried to achieve on more than just one occasion. And due to this evolution in power, that could explain the new suit, whether that is just the forces creating that suit. That'd be a point of interest. I think that'd be fairly cool if, like, once he gains access to all these forces, his like suit just changes, or that's just the suit that builds up upon him. That would be pretty damn cool. Now, people have wondered whether blood work plays into this, and that's mainly because of the suit, I think, the way it looks. But also, blood work, or Ramsey Rosso, has been name dropped a few times this season, which sometimes is not a coincidence. Like, they're naming him for a reason. Now, we know they had plans for him after the last time we saw him, but then of course the pandemic happened. But then again, I don't think they ever said anything that's why he hadn't shown up again. Like, they didn't say, oh yeah, he was meant to be in season 7, but he couldn't, like, the actor couldn't travel. I don't think they specifically said that. They just said they had plans for him going forward. So maybe he wasn't meant to show up until maybe this season. Maybe Eobard needs Ramsey's blood or DNA or something like that to achieve what he wants to do. So maybe keep that in mind. I'm not saying that's 100% going to happen, but people think blood work's going to come into this and play a factor. But one big question, this is the question that we'll leave the video off with, is this the end of Eobard Thawne as we know him? So not as a character, but just in his current form. So this would be in regards to Tom Cavanagh's portrayal. And I think this would be a fitting end if that's going to be the case. And we know that this season's finale was originally set up as a potential series finale, so last episode ever, and that was just in case there was no renewal. Most shows, once they pass like a 6th or 7th season, they do this just in case. They write a script as if it's going to be the final episode ever, and they'll do another version where it's just a normal season finale, and then they set up something going forward into another season. So whatever they set up doesn't mean it's going to, play out in the finale, because, they might get renewed. But Eric Wallace, the showrunner, did say there is a point in this season's finale where us, the audience, will see what would have been the ending of the show if it was a series finale. So maybe that is the end of Thawne. Like, it's not going to be Barry doing anything, like disappearing, because it's another season. So maybe it is Thawne. Like, hopefully it's a good send-off if it is the last of Tom Cavanagh's Thawne. But yeah, if that is the case and it is the end of that version of the character, that doesn't mean you won't get a different Thawne. Like, maybe a younger one, or just an alternate Thawne not played by Tom Cavanagh. Maybe played by Matt Ledger. Maybe played by a younger actor. Whatever it might be, it depends what the higher-ups on the show want to do. But if they feel this is the best way to end Thawne's story, then I would be surprised if they brought in another version to at least be a main threat, unless it's just for like a one-off episode. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they do, but maybe it could be the end. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got your brains ticking. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support, especially if you're looking forward to any of the stuff coming later in the season. Of course, let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on the theory went over, and if you would add anything or take anything away, if you have a different point of view, let me know all that in the comment section down below. And do you think this could be the end of Tom Cavanagh's Eobard Thawne? Let me know. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.